Hi guys, I'm Brenna Matthies, and this is my bitch barn. This is where I do all the work for my projects, and yes, they are my projects. My husband's got enough of his own. Been a mechanic most of my life. Started out in the service. Back in 1990, I bought that toolbox right there and started working on aircraft. While I was in the service, I got a huge passion for engines, flatheads, radials. I've worked on all of them. I got an addiction for horsepower, so nothing in our barn is stock. You don't have to have the fanciest garage, the fanciest tools. As long as you got your hands, there's nothing you can't accomplish. Like you said, there's no snap-on tools, toolboxes. You're not going to see any of that because all my money goes into my projects. That's where the fun's at. No one cares if you got a $50 snap-on wrench. You won't find any panheads here. You won't find any Harley stuff. Love my brothers, but this is an Indian barn. I started out riding probably age 5 back in '78. My dad got me a 50 Kawasaki. Terrified me. He fired it up, throttle stuck, and it did donuts in the parking lot. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. A week later, you couldn't pull me off of it. And that's where my riding career started. Rode till I was about, I don't know, 18, 19 years old, and left for the service. And that's where I learned how to turn wrenches and do that kind of thing. You may see Norman over there on the table. My bull I picked up on a long cross country out to Moab, and the guys knew I was looking for a bull to bring back. I wanted a skull to put, I usually decorate the bikes up for Halloween. So I'm sitting in this white table restaurant. Steaks, guys with their girlfriends out for the evening. We come in blue jeans, looking all crappy. The owner of the restaurant says, "You need a skull?" I said, yeah, I need one of those. This guy walks in with this thing fresh. She's still a little fresh. He goes, "Here you go," and lays it on the table. And we're all laughing. We're all vets, and we think it's hilarious. Young folks, the customers are just staring at us like, what the heck? So I walk out of the restaurant going, "Beast fresh," and out we go. So I strapped it to the back of this when she used to be a Burgundy Roadmaster and drove it all the way home. This is what we call the Dragon. She's Dragon Green. She started life as a 22 Roadmaster. Beautiful Burgundy two-tone when I bought it. I rode it for, I don't know, about a year and a half. 2 years. Took it to DC through Hurricane Fred. Didn't realize I enjoyed long cross countries until that day. Got done with DC, learned to ride in the rain that week, and realized I enjoy hopping on my bike and turning everybody else off. Next trip, I go to Moab to support some veterans on a 10-day ride. She goes out there, and I'm just hooked. I can't drive far enough. Did a couple iron butts while I was there. I got racked up 4,000 miles on the Moab trip alone. Again, all solo until I get to wherever we're at. I prefer it that way. I think a lot of us need some time by ourselves. I get back, and she's filthy. And after owning her for about a year and a half, 2 years, I wanted to check hardware, take the bags off. Well, I had bought a salvage bike that had some of this green stuff on it. I always liked it. I pull all the burgundy stuff off right back here, and I look at the burgundy, and I look at the green, I look at the burgundy, and I look at the green. I'm like, it's time. So I start drawing out this bike. Took everything off and left unsupervised. I do have to admit, I blame my husband. The internet, a couple rum and cokes, and I start coming up with ideas. I sketched it out. The green and purple was always my focus. 70s dragsters, 60s, 70s dragsters were always my thing. Again, with the engines, I want the biggest motor I can get. I want to go fast. That was my thing. So back in the 60s and 70s, the paint was loud and the engines were huge. So okay, check. I need paint and I need a big engine. I get a hold of Lloydz and tell them I want their 131. I said, I want the biggest, baddest thing you can build me. And that they did. I start drawing. And I remember the first picture I drew, I had a rough idea, but this bike's totally changed from the original concept that I had. Wanted to take a new bike and make it look more old. I know my limitations. I don't weld, and I can't chop this frame like a tube frame, so I didn't want to do that. So what I ended up doing is I like the classic Indian fairing. It's big, it's large, and then I put an air ride system in the bike. So what it ends up doing is lowering the bike, making it look long and low, but I never touched the frame. I changed out the bags because this used to have the classic Indian bags that kind of had a round top to them. So that kept the bike lines to go with the graphic, just more of a slam the ass end down and give it the look that I couldn't give it myself. Then I started dabbling. I took what I had and tried to make it work. I took my original console, took the covers and badging off of it and had them painted on. Just a subtle type thing. My biggest thing is I wanted to fabricate as much on my bike as I could. I had built cars, I had built aircraft, I have built engines, but I never built a bike until this one. These are factory mirrors, but they used to sit way up here. So I chopped them, tucked them, got them down behind the fairing. I took the tail lights. I knew I had factory size tail lights. I measure those and I find a set of pistons that'll fit it. Because again, I'm an engine junkie. All over this bike are engine parts, but I didn't want them to come out like I just bolted parts on the bike. So Amazon, you can get Honda 650 pistons if you're really interested. Took the valve springs. Those are my shift levers. These are the cams that came in this bike before I did the upgrade. And if you notice, my center stand are connecting rods. I built that myself. Ironically, Kirk is where I got my springs and stuff. We get it all done, not realizing it was going to look like it did. My focus was to make sure all the purple worked together, and it's not as easy as you think. Because let me tell you, when you go into a shop as a woman and you say, I want a purple alligator seat, let's just say they weren't as eager to put in a purple alligator, but they did, and it all came together. But my fear was when it was done, did I make changes along the way that are going to impact the entire layout? We're getting her close to done. So Gilby's out of Hudson did the paint on this bike, and they helped me tremendously with design. And we went back and forth. I took an old saddlebag and I laid it on the table and we started chalk drawing. They draw one thing, I draw another. At one point, somebody drew a Harley 1 on the side of my saddlebag, and I said no. The 131 on my saddlebags is not gonna have the Harley #1 on it, because last I checked, Indian's #1. But we did come to terms, and he did a phenomenal job on this bike. He silver leafed the tank, all the silver you see here. I get done with it, and the husband looks at it and he goes, you gotta show it. I said, well, I've never shown a bike. I don't know the first thing about it. So I figured I would put my bike up against the best. We went to Donnie Smith, and she brought home second in her class. And I thought, well, if I can go up against those guys, I did okay. I mean, I felt like I did okay, but I am not a professional bike builder. I'm a 50-year-old woman who said, you know what, I'm gonna do this. And you can. It's, my husband supports me tremendously. Without him, I don't know that I would push as hard as I do. Usually when I start complaining, you know, I need this or I need this, he goes, well, then make it. And I come in here and I start building. And that's kind of where the sissy bar came from. I had a factory sissy bar, but I had a trip to Canada coming up and I need to be able to carry stuff. I didn't want to run a trunk. And again, I wanted the sissy bar because last winter I had taken some brake line and mocked up a design to see what would it look like. You know, would it do what I wanted? My husband comes in and he goes, are you sure? I said, I think that's the next route I'm going to go. I'm going to build a sissy bar. And we just finished this one not long ago. I took some stainless, had a buddy of mine weld it, and I polished all the stainless to match the chrome that's on the lower half. So it all looks like it's chromed, but it is not. It is polished. I come up with the tail design, had that water jetted with some friends of mine, and I ended up bending it like you see it. And those rum and cokes I was telling you about, yeah. Part of the hot rod culture are these moon tanks, is what these are. They carry oil, fuel, and they were usually pretty big. I told Moon I'd like to have a small one made, and they made that for me. Kind of the throwback of the hot rod days, but that is where my rum stays. It is at the end of the ride. We can tap into that, but you just keep working on it. And I kept doing more and more and more, and I'm still not done with it. Ironically, I'm still not done. One of the biggest reasons I enjoy this bike so much is last 2 years before my brother passed, he and I would talk through my intercom while I rode down to visit him down south. I lost him 6 years ago this month. But those memories of riding and talking to him come back every time I get on this bike. And I keep his watch on my bike, so I do all my iron butts, and he's my official timekeeper. I usually ride with something from family members. Like I said, my brother, his watch. My sister's sugar skull is usually, yeah, her sugar skull is in my saddlebag. And I've always carried something for my siblings. I've always been that way since I left for the service, just a reminder. But for me to get back on this bike and just go on a long cross country is my way of talking to him. And that's probably my biggest therapy. And like I said, all my official time is done with that thing. So even though the bike has a clock, and my husband's like, you're gonna take the watch off? I'm like, no, it stays. It doesn't go with anything, and I don't care. Like I said, it means more to me. Just an old watch, but it meant a lot to him. So that's what I do. And he had a kidney transplant, and during his transplant, we all got these coins. And my dad, my sister, and I all have a coin, and we keep those. And like I said, for me, that's the therapy that the bike offers me. Just to clear the head and just get back in touch with him in a way. I didn't plan on chasing trophies with it, but she's won every show she's entered. And like I said, if you got an idea, put it on paper. Make it happen. Make it your bike. Like I said, I'm here to tell you, there's not a lot of green bikes, but be you, be different. Like I said, you can go in any parking lot and find a black bike. You know, that's awesome if you like it, but we all want to make them our own. So make it your own, and you know, don't care what anybody else thinks, because it's a lot of fun. It's satisfying, and I love nothing more than to pull up to a gas station and say I built it.